Saya bang, dale. Aan het wat? Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I will also greet you in our native language called Papiamento. Buon tardi, bombini, turende. I would like to announce a little change in the planning. We had some more speakers, but unfortunately, due to circumstances, they cannot be here. So we might finish a little bit earlier than planned. Welcome to the Caribbean Google Developers Group DevFest 2022. What is the Caribbean DevFest 2022? It's about connecting the Caribbean tech community. The time of the year where the Caribbean communities come together to celebrate technology and the change we can make with it. This is the first time that Aruba is participating in the GDG DevFest. It's nice to see and know that there are a lot of tech talent in the Caribbean. We also have some tech talents on Aruba, our own Arubians and Arubians living abroad. It would be nice. Let me see. By knowing this, I think and believe if all of us come together as Caribbeans with all the tech talents that we have, we can bring some serious solutions to our problems that we're facing in the Caribbean. So I hope with this with this event we can interlink more tech talents together. Our chapter's name is GDG St. Nicholas Aruba. The reason why? St. Nicholas is known at the moment as a creative city. Creativity and tech goes hand in hand, and we believe and see that St. Nicholas should become the tech city of Aruba. And now I would like to introduce the first speaker, Jarzino Henriquez, the one who made it possible that Aruba is part of the GDG Caribbean community. I would like to welcome Jarzino Henriquez. One moment, he's coming.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much. Let's see how this goes. We good? All right. Cool. So thank you, Jean-Pierre. Today I'm going to talk about going full stack with Dart. So my name is Jarzino Henriquez. I'm a software engineer. Yes, there it goes. I'm a software engineer. I used to do Android and iOS back in the day. Then I switched to Flutter in 2018, and after that to Google Cloud Platform. And we've got these things of saying you're a mobile engineer, software engineer, or you're a cloud engineer. I figured I'll just go with software engineer because that's who I am in the basis. So today I'm going to talk about going full stack. Mainly going to talk first about why we're going to talk about going full stack and why you should use Dart for that sense. I'm going to show a small example app, how you're going to do that, and I'm going to talk about Flutter, Google Cloud Platforms, and then the things you can do after that. So why? Basically you want to, when you have a new idea, when you want to build something, these days when you go to Android, iOS, web, you're talking about Kotlin, you're talking about Swift, you're talking about JavaScript. And this means like you have to switch between languages, right? So what I'm going to show you is a way how you can do one code base and not having to switch between those languages. So it's a way of using technology that's free if you use it properly, and that can get you up to speed very quickly. So as I mentioned, it's a single code base. You're just using Dart. You can have one team instead of multiple teams for Android, iOS, web, and you don't have the mental switch. You can use the same tooling, and because of this, you have a developer satisfaction, and that means more fun. More fun means more productive, and it's free, obviously. Well, obviously, if you use it properly, let's put it that way. So an example app is a simple example app, simple message board that allows you to send messages and receive messages. So what I'm going to do is show you how we set this up, send a message and then receive it. As I mentioned, a simple, small app. Top is the list and at the bottom small form. So normally what we would do, we would have our device, we would set up an API, and then we have a database. We do a post call and a get call on the API to gather messages and receive our messages. The API would talk to the database, and this is what we normally call the backend, this part. The backend we're going to put in Google Cloud Platform, and the device will be built, the app will be built with Flutter. API will be done with Dart in Cloud Run, talk about that later, and the database will be done with Firestore. Now normally we would have an API, a library for Flutter, and talk directly to Firestore, but we're going to skip this now for the example of what I'm going to show you. So let's talk a bit about Flutter. If you go to the website, flutter.dev, you'll see this quote. Flutter transforms the app development process, build, test, and deploy beautiful mobile, web, desktop, and embedded apps from a single code base. It's kind of the marketing quote, right? So like business to business people will talk about Flutter. When we talk about it as developers, if you scroll down on the website, you'll see Flutter is an open source framework by Google for building beautiful, natively compiled, multi-platform applications from a single code base. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see it's trusted by many, and if you look very closely, you'll see me there. There's a small thing here. So, back to the technical quote, a single code base. That single code base is written in Dart. So what we're going to do, we're going to see how we're going to create 3 projects actually using Dart, how we can combine these things. So first, getting started, we'll look at the project setup. We'll see what I'll use to be able to talk the same way throughout these applications, and then we'll get to sending and receiving a message. So first, the project setup. We'll just start a directory, message board. We'll make an app, directory, and in there we'll have our message board app. Having installed the Flutter SDK, we just have to do flutter create -d app dot, and that will create our basic app in the directory. The packages are dependencies, things that we can use for our app, so we don't have to rewrite them ourselves. And you can go to pub.dev to get these packages. So what I'm using for this app are 3 packages: build value, freeze, and block. Build value allows me to create immutable objects, things that don't change. Freeze, so that I can have some functional programming added to it, a little bit of sugar coding, and then block I use for my state management. Since block is the state management, it's quite an important thing to discuss, so I'll highlight a little bit. Back in 2015, it was still a concept, so to say. Excuse me. And a concept that allowed you to use the same code between Flutter and Angular Dart, the equivalent of Angular back in the day by using Dart. Since then, block has become a real object-oriented package, and things that used to be a mentality, things that you knew, have become actual objects. So from the UI to the block, you can have events, and from the block back to the UI, you'll have states. So how do we set this up? We add these dependencies to our configuration. Every Flutter, every Dart application has a pubspec.yaml, which is its configuration of saying these are the packages that I'm using. So at the top you'll see which version I'm using, then you'll see the dependencies for the app itself, and then the dev dependencies, the things that are needed for building the app. So as you can see, I've added build value, Flutter block, and freeze annotation, and at the bottom, freeze. So let's have a look at our events. Our events are written with in the style of freeze. 2 events actually, list requested and created, meaning I've created a message. These will be used and sent to the block whenever they occur. The states, for every event, I actually have 3 states. So these are started, succeeded, and failed. Tying these together in the block will allow me to have a way of communicating between the UI and the block. So let's see how I do that. On the block, I'll have multiple per event. Actually, I'll have an on event, an on method. And in this case, you'll see the on message list requested and on message created, both tied to a method. If you look into, for example, the list requested, you'll see that I'll receive an event and an emit parameter. And if you look a little bit closer, we'll see that I'm calling the event, the emit method. This actually tells the block to send this state on its stream. So the block will have a stream of states, and this is sent to the UI. So what I'll actually do is get the messages via the message service, and if everything goes well, I'll just emit the succeeded state. If something goes wrong, I'll emit the failed state. So when this all tied together, we'll again look at the UI. In the UI, skipping how widgets are built by themselves, because that's something you can look up. You'll see that I'm actually calling upon the message block, and I'm adding the message list requested event. This goes to the block, fetches the messages, and returns them. This I can show you how this looks like in the widget. Having a scaffold, we have a block builder, and this block builder is called every time a new state is emitted from the block. And this is where freeze comes in handy, because freeze translates that state by using the maybe map. It also has different methods, but the maybe map allows us to check at which state we are at the moment, and based on that we'll have a method that's being called on. So in the case of list request started, we're returning a loading widget. When it succeeded, we'll actually show the message list, and if it's failed, something went wrong. And then we'll have, that's the top of the screen, and at the bottom we'll have our form. Now our form does actually 2 things. First, it checks if it validates, so meaning we filled in our form, we actually added everything that we should have added, and then we'll actually send it. So we'll create a message, and then we'll say to the block, a message has been created. And again, this goes up to the block. And that's actually how we set up our block and our UI. That's the logic that's needed to actually send messages and receive messages. And in a nutshell, that's actually how we set up our communication with our API. So now we've done our device, our app, to our API. Moving on, we'll look at Google Cloud Platform. Google Cloud Platform is Google's offering for different areas of services that you can use in the cloud. So what they have is things like compute, meaning virtual machines, network, tying these machines up together, storage, actually storing data that you have, multiple versions of data that you have, data for calculating and looking up statistics, and AI and ML, so actually doing things like machine learning. The graphical view basically is these 4 questions that you can have. Where do I run things? Where do I store my data? How do I manage big data and analytics? And where do I enable intelligence? What we're going to look at is Google Cloud Run. Cloud Run is a service provided by Google in Google Cloud Platform that leverages containers workflows. This allows you to create a container based on an application that you have and have it run in Cloud Run. Because it's in containers, it allows you to actually create containers using any language. And since it's fully managed, you don't have to look at scaling. So if demand gets higher, you don't have to look at that. You don't have to manage that. Google handles that for you. And it's pay per use. And if you use it within the free tier, you don't have to pay. So let's see how we can add that to our project. We'll add a backend folder and in there we'll have a message service folder. Now we need a way to communicate between Cloud Run and Dart. And with that we can do that by using the functions framework for Dart. This is something also slightly by Google developers. It allows you to have lightweight functions. So by a request, you can invoke a response, you can have a response, and it conforms to the cloud event specification, meaning that whatever you build with this can also be used in different environments, different cloud providers that follow this specification. Also, you can find this on pop.dev. So how do we create this? Since once we've added the Dart.fn application, which comes with the functions framework, we simply use Dart.fn generate hello world. Now this allows you to, this creates a project for you just as Flutter Create did, but then with everything you needed to create a Cloud Run application. Since it's a container, you use Docker, and it comes with its own Docker file for you. What it does, it actually gets the dependencies that you need, compiles your application, moves it to a scratch image, and then starts the server for you. This by the end is only 5 megabytes. Now by default, it'll start with a hello world function. So whenever this is called, it'll just say hello world. But we want to actually get or save our messages. Now so far we've actually used block in the UI, and that's mainly what people use block for, just to have it in the Flutter app. But actually, if you look at it, you could replace the UI and put that API right there and do the same thing that you've done before. So if you look at our dependencies, this is what you generally start with, and we're adding block as well. Block, build value, freeze, just as we did with our UI app. Only difference here is that we're using block instead of Flutter block, because we don't need anything that's added by Flutter. We just use the block by itself. So we're changing what we have here, a simple hello world, to a few lines that actually does what we need. At the top, we're creating a message service. Then we'll check if it's a get method that's being called, or if it's a post method. Based on that, we're calling the methods that we need, and if something goes wrong, we'll either say we didn't find what you're looking for, or actually something actually did go wrong. Now if you look at our messages method, which is to retrieve the messages, we check, and since the block actually is a stream, has a stream, we can wait for that whole stream to finish and then see what state we are at the end. And if it succeeded, then we can get that messages from that state and return it. And the same happens for when we create a message. We read what's in the message, and then we actually make a message from that, and then store it. Once everything went well, we get an ID and we send that back. And that's actually the same way how we use a block in the API. And that's actually how we go from the API to the database. But right now, at the moment, we're using the same things and not using the method or the services to go directly to the Firestore. So basically, in this case now, we're actually iterating ourselves. We're actually talking to ourselves. So we can use the Google APIs, which actually allows us to talk to Firestore. Google APIs have many more things, which I'll discuss in a bit. But for now, we'll use it to create a Firestore API. And since we're running on Cloud Run, we can actually get an HTTP client authenticated to talk to Firestore. And with that Firestore API, we're passing that on to our messages service and create a new block. And this allows us to talk to Firestore. And that's actually it. That's how you actually do this. That's how you talk from the app to the backend with just Dart. But if you look at it now, there's copies of the block in the message board and the message service. And to clean that up, we can create a common directory and move that block in that common directory. This is the third way how we create Dart projects. That's the simple package simple variant by just using Dart create. This also just creates a package, and in here we can use everything that we've used so far, but then in a way that we can reuse that in other applications. So in here we'll create our abstract service that has the get and the post method, and we expose that as a library. Now in our Flutter application, we can remove the dependencies that we've had and just refer to the common package. And the same way we can do that for our Cloud Run application, we just remove that and refer to the common package. Now we just change the message service that we had to implement that abstract message service, and we're good to go. This only thing that we have to do is hide the application of it, the implementation of it, and that's all we have to do. Now everything is in common and can be reused in message board and message service. And that's actually everything you have to do to have a clean, neat way of reusing your same code from the common package to your applications. So we have Flutter on the app, Cloud Run using Dart, and the Firestore backend. Once you've installed the Google Cloud CLI, you can actually just run Cloud Run deploy in your backend service, and it will actually upload your package for you, and you're done. Just have a quick look. If you look at going to the Google Cloud Platform, navigate to Cloud Run, you'll see your service right there as message service. Opening it will show you the link to it, and actually that's the URL that you need to talk to your API. So you can hook this up to your app, and you're good to go. One thing that you see right there, set up continuous deployment, which is very important. You can do that with Cloud Build. Cloud Build is a service as well within Google Cloud Platform that allows you to build different images and whatever you need actually, as long as it confirms. Okay, cool. So here's a list, things that I've built so far. When things go well, you can just see a list of things that you've done. And builds can be created by triggers, and you can create your own trigger. So for instance, you can have a trigger that says whenever a new push has been made to a Git branch. And these are following steps that you can define in your own cloud build.yaml. So in this case, I'm first running a test at the top, then I'm building the image, pushing it to the artifact registry, and then I'm deploying it as a Cloud Run service. And this is a sample of what that looks like. So at the end, when you're done, you can commit anything that you need for your application, push it to Git, and Cloud Build will actually deploy the latest version of your app for you, of your API for you. And that's actually what you need to get going. So things you can do after this, when you have this set up, you can look at infrastructure as code. You can look at event arc, and as I mentioned, the Google APIs. Infrastructure as code, Google Cloud Platform offers Deployment Manager, a way of actually defining a recipe just as Terraform does for your application. Terraform is also used by different cloud providers, so if you want to switch at any point, then you can do that with Terraform. And by using this, you actually get to a point of where you can use GitOps, where you actually separate your environments via Git. Quick look at how this looks, what this looks like. In this quick, simple example, I'm just basically saying I need 3 services in my Google Cloud project. In this case, PubSub, Google Cloud Run, and Firestore. So if I start a new project, for instance, and a new environment, and I have this set up, and push this to this project, Terraform will actually set this up for me, and I don't have to do it manually. Example of what we could do for ourselves, given our messages services in artifact registry, it will actually look for our image and deploy it for us, so we don't have to do that anymore. Different point of view, if you have a code on the machine that works on my machine idea, goes away because you have a recipe defining how your situation should look like. You push that with Git, Cloud Build sees that and deploys it for you in the cloud platform. Now this could be your development environment, which we all like and love and do whatever we want to do with it. But if you want to have a more serious environment, you'll probably go towards having multiple environments for your project. So you can actually develop, test, acceptance, and production. These things only change when you push to that exact branch. Fourth, Google APIs. The Google APIs allow you to talk to basically any Google service that you have, as long as it's supported. This allows you to talk to things like Firebase, as I just did, or to Google Cloud Storage, or even Google Drive or Gmail. So in projects that I've built, I actually send emails from my applications based on triggers that I've had. Even further, what's very cool is Event Arc, as I mentioned. Event Arc is used for trigger for Cloud Run. So you can say whenever something's been written in a document in Firestore, that triggers something in your app. Or if a document has been written in Google Cloud Storage, for instance, you can see that as well as a trigger. This is actually the foundation for the new Cloud Functions. So to recap, to go back to what we've done, to go full stack, we've talked about the motivation, simple example app, talked a little bit about Flutter, Google Cloud Platform, and things you can do after that. That was it. Thank you. Oh. Questions? All right.
Switching over from one language to another, like what was the experience with it, and how was it difficult? I mean, I could assume that you have to basically learn a whole different language.
Yes, I'm a bit biased in that sense because I was doing Java, Kotlin, Swift, Objective-C, so that was like adding another language. But yeah, I can imagine that would be something that you have to look against. Like, yes, okay, there's another language to learn. But I think the benefits outweigh the cost in that sense, knowing that you can go for web, mobile, and desktop with Flutter. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Why would I want to use Flutter instead of a different approach to one code base?
What would be your different approach?
One of them is using React Native.
Good question. Good question. I think if you like React more, then you should just go with React. I'm never going to be like, this is better, that's better. For me, it's more that myself, having built websites, having done Android, having done iOS, I was tired of switching. And for me, also the cloud platform added to that allows me to go just with one code. That's what I like more.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Then I have some questions. How did you become a software developer or software engineer?
Oh, okay. That goes
What was
way-
your
goes way
road to
back.
that?
Okay, my road to that. I played games a lot, and high school, vocation, training school actually came by and discussed things that we could do. And I was actually sitting with my dad, and when they discussed when they mentioned creating your own applications, my dad just did like this. He's like, "That's your thing, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah." So from then on, it was like that was the goal, being able to create my own applications, and that's what I followed ever since.
All right. And is it necessary to do like, say you have to go to university to become a software engineer, or can you do this because you have the drive to learn this because you want it?
I'd say the environment of a school and university allows you to ask questions easier, unless you find outside of your environment where you are people that can help you. So as long as people can help you, I think you can do it whenever you want to. Having said that, I think, not to blame anyone who's self-taught, I think just is that there's certain steps that are taught to you when you go to school, and I think that helps at least to get to a point that you know, like, okay, from now on I'm on my own, I can do this.
Yeah.
And het papiertje, as we say, the paper, helps you enter, go to doors and
Yeah,
help you go
open
further
doors,
from
yeah.
there. Yeah.
All right. And what would you tell the young ones on Aruba or the ones thinking of becoming a software engineer? What can they do? What should they do? What should they read? Or how can you like inspire them to become one if they're thinking about it?
With that, well, looking at that, I'm happy you are here now. I'd say go for it. That's definitely number one. Go for it. Reach out and see people around you who are doing the same thing. Find people, like-minded people who are doing things that you want to do. And in this case, there are GDGs now. There's DNA. Reach out to them and see how they can help you.
All right.
Can we put your information on the screen so people that are following us on this chat that can want to reach out to you, your name or something?
Yeah, that's funny actually. I actually never did put Twitter or anything on this.
I'm pretty sure they can Google.
Yeah, my name's a typo, so you'll find my name very easy. So yeah, you can do that. Yeah. No, definitely, you can do that. We'll share it. Yeah. Right now.
Slide,
First slide. Okay, cool. Let's go. That's right there. Like this.
yes. Perfect.
And for basically anything you want to find me is just @before, because at that time no one had that handle, so it's just @Tercino and you'll find me.
I want to ask a follow-up question to what JP just asked you. What about older folks that want to enter into, because technology is playing an ever more important role in the workforce.
Yeah.
And what you kind of see is that the older generation is they don't want to make that step into learning something new because they think it's a very, steep learning curve. How do you advise, or what do you say, to the older generation that because I'm not saying they have to adapt, but for them, how do they deal with the learning curve of learning how to code? Keeping in mind that older generation did have some form of programming already in their schooling education. However, they haven't used any of it for the past 30 to 40 years.
Yeah. It's a very important thing that you mentioned, that if they don't want it, right? They should want it first.
They do want it, but it's just that
They're scared, or there are hurdles.
I have to go to school and it's difficult and screens and it's too far. But is it really in reality that far from their bench? Say it that way.
Don't know if I can answer that one. Because still it depends on the person, I think. As with anything, I'd say small steps. And also what I mentioned is that having a group around you that can help you, support you, is very important. And if that hasn't been around to actually motivate these people, I can imagine it gets quite hard. I can imagine that curve being quite steep, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Cool, thank you.
We will introduce the following speaker.
Cool.
Or do we need a break?
Take a break.
Let's take a break.
Cool.
moving from Q&A. I think that was a really good closing. Yeah, check, 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 check. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, testing. 1, 2.
Check, check, check.
1.
All right, we're back again. Oh. All right, we're back again. I would like to introduce the second speaker slash panelist, AJ of Atyang de Grael, better known as AJ. AJ, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I think this is a great start, especially for the island, to be involved in such an event. Yes, my name is AJ. Lived in the Netherlands for 10 years. Moved back right before the pandemic. Business consultant on the island, and soon as the pandemic started, my whole strategy of business consultant kind of changed, because again, like, the world was turned upside down. The role of technology started to play a bigger role within companies. Working from home, using social media to promote your organization, websites, which kind of created an opportunity as well for me. I have over 10-year experience in logistics in the Netherlands. So meaning that as soon as people wanted to set up warehouses or websites here on the island, they needed an inventory management system. And there's kind of where I came to play, because a lot of companies on the island did not have an adequate warehouse management system. They had a POS system, but really just basically a POS for the point of sale. So meaning just the sales aspect of it was important. What you came to realize is that many companies here on the island buy extensive great software, but only use a minuscule of it, which also created another opportunity, which is data. Figuring out who is your customers, how often are you buying stuff, how often are you selling stuff, what's your inventory rate, what's your turnover rate, how can you cross-sell. So with the data, that also came into play in optimizing organizations. So slowly but surely you see that the island is adapting and is dealing with this now. Which also comes with its other challenges. It's a phrase in papiamento, sí, pero siempre nos hacía así aquí. You know,
Always did it this way.
You know, I always ordered my stuff when it ran out, you know, and now you see that, especially, you know, first it was the pandemic, and now it's the war in Ukraine, you know, and it's logistics, and it's China, and you know, so it's a bunch of factors around us that are impacting us as an island. But at the same time, we do have customers out there that do need our product and our services. We do still need to pay rent, and we still need to pay employees. So by easily sit back and be like, well, you know, I don't have my items in stock or something like that because of, you know, X factor, external factors, the role of data and technology is playing an ever more important role. Now we can kind of see, okay, what's the trend? You know, am I going to make sure, when am I going to run out of products? You know, okay, it takes us usually a month to get products on the island, you know, so now I can use my data to be like, okay, by a month, I'm going to shut off and make sure I start ordering stuff. You know, we have Christmas coming up now. Again, right before Thanksgiving, Black Friday, we in the logistics are also going to get impacted. Why? Because everything else is going up, meaning that things are running out faster. Containers are full, you know, so you can't get your products to the island, you know, so again, technology and data is playing an ever more important role here on the island. Going back to the aspect of, yeah, we've done things like that. Sempre nos hacemos assim. Either you're going to be forced to change, or you're going to be pushed out of the game. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of where I come in and kind of help assist people in you know, maximizing their potential with the software that they have. So that's basically my talk.
And how do you take on the challenge of the people that are always saying, well, that's the way we always done it? How do you get them to come across?
That's a very important question. Technology is a tool to make something more efficient, you know, and as long as you see it as that, as long as you bring it as that as well, not as we're going to do something different, but we're actually going to help you do your work better. I mean, again, it's an island thing, all right? If I have a nail, yes, I can use a screwdriver and bang it in. I can use a rock to bang it in. I can use the hammer and turn it upside down and use the wrong side of bang it in. Yes, the nail's going to go in. However, if I have a hammer and I use it the right way, it's going to go way more efficient and it's going to work much better. So it's trying to explain over and over and over and over again and why. A feedback loop is very, very important. What you see, you know, in my experience over the years is that most decisions are taken top down. Okay, so somebody in an office went somewhere, spoke to somebody, and has a great idea. Oh, this software is going to help us. This technology is going to help us. He's going to invest a lot of money in it, and just basically comes down with a big box of hand scanners and uniforms and everything else, and be like, okay, guys, this is what we're going to use now. It does not explain how to use it, what to do with it, and everything else. And what happens is, the guy that invested the money is going to get frustrated, blaming the people that's going to use it. The people that's got to use it are going to blame the guy to bring the box with a bunch of tools in it and be like, well, you know, this doesn't work. It kind of sucks, you know. So nothing really happens. So again, it's the human aspect is very, very important in this. You know, yes, you have to sit with them. Yes, you have to train them. Yes, you have to explain to them. Yes, that one guy, he's going to get it in one day. But the other guy, yes, maybe I have to tell him 10 times. 20 times, you know, like, so you have to stick time into these people and trying to explain to them, why are we doing this? And I'll bet you, as soon as they start using it, they're going to realize that, yes, it works better. It's more efficient. I work faster, you know. And I'll guarantee you that they're going to say that it's their idea and they've learned it and they've done it and it's all theirs, which is great because the end result is what counts.
Correct.
You know, and again, going back to data, we can also monitor like who is lacking behind, who needs extra help, you know, who's not using the technology, who's not using the app. For instance, you know, again, I worked for a really big retail company, and to prevent information leaking out and all of that, we used a internal communication platform, right? Just like Slack and SpeakApp and WhatsApp and all of these platforms, they had one of their own and they paid a lot of money on it, and you know, and everybody was supposed to use this application. So the first thing you do when you get on the job is they tell you, yes, you know, download this application, this is how we talk, this is how we share our rosters, you know, our schedules, you know, all important information are being distributed on this application. But nobody tells you where to find your schedule. Nobody tells you how to use channels. Nobody tells you, you know, like, they don't explain anything to you. They just tell you, download this app, and this is what we use to communicate. Before you know it, you have 1,000 groups app in WhatsApp going around, right? And you, as an organization that was trying to prevent information from leaking out because, you know, certain documents and figures and statistics that we need to share amongst our teammates are being shared now on WhatsApp, resulting in leaks of information.
Correct.
You know, so what you see again is that, you know, the tool is great, but you have to explain, you have to stick time into it. And yeah, time is money. And as soon as they figure out that, oh, I gotta spend, you know, 40 minutes, an hour explaining to you how to use an app, you know,
It's costly.
It's costly, so they can figure it out. You know, no, they don't.
No. So that's a very important lesson learned.
I think it's the most important lesson. I mean, our most important asset in any organization are our employees. Without your employees, your organization is not going to run, it's not going to function.
So you can have the best technology in the house, but if your assets, which are the people, the most important one, are not on board, you waste $1 million dollars or euros, it will not work.
I mean, that's you know, this some of the things I encounter. Again, there's beautiful technology out there in the retail industry. You know, like for instance, how do your shoppers, customers move within your organization, within your store? your employees have certain tags on them, badges that the computer knows, okay, we're not going to count them in it. You know exactly the traveling route. You can do all of that. You have companies that invested a lot of money into this, but don't know how to use it. You have companies that spend a lot of money in warehouse management systems, but don't know how to use it. It kind of comes up from a bottom-up situation where again, yes, we see something out there and we see that it's possible, and we just come and we buy it and we put it down and be like, okay, guys, this is what we're going to use, but we don't have the skill to use it. And again, it's a steep learning curve. I think that the speaker prior to me also mentioned something great. I mean, with our education as well, that usually we buy a great expensive software and we end up hiring somebody with a university degree because we think that that person is the best in operating something, not again forgetting the human aspect of it. If it's trying to bring technology and humans together, and that's a trick. I mean, if technology is fine, but we got to use it.
So you're basically saying you have to use that empathy part to get the people on board to use the best technology there is.
I'll give you an example. The same thing what I told you about the communication platform that we used. Some people were really complaining. Directors were really complaining because we can see who logs in, and we can see who's active on these communication platforms. And directors were really disappointed with the amount of use of this communication platform. So I went out to some locations and I went to figure out, okay, why isn't this communication platform being used? And you end up seeing that the population of that location, the age, was of a higher age. They call it old organizations, not as an old organization as the building or everything, but just the age of the people working there were of age.
Above a certain age.
Were above a certain age. So I'm like, okay. So I started asking around. I mean, we're talking, what year are we talking here? We're talking 2012, 13, near there, yeah, 11, 12. Smartphones at that moment, it was just the transition from what I call a dumb phone, Nokia, to smartphones, right? It's right between that time period. And you still had that older generation that were still using Nokia phones, analog phones, or dumb phones, whatever you want to call them. Meaning that you're excluding these people from your organization. So again, it's easy to be like, okay, I'm going to buy a platform, you guys, okay, communicate, hey, download this app and let's start using it. And now how about a whole location that is not up to speed with technology? So again, technology also plays a major role in the generations using it. A younger kid is going to pick up technology much easier than we can. I mean, if I have to see what my 3-year-old son does on the phone nowadays, I mean, like the other day.
You'll be surprised in a minute.
Yeah, the other day he was watching YouTube, and people are calling me, and he knows how to cancel the call. So he's just sitting there watching YouTube, and I'm watching him, and I see him, just closing the phone, and I'm like, okay. But again, you're not paying attention to it. So after a while, somebody's calling my wife and asks my wife, say, I'm trying to get in touch with AJ. Okay, trying to get in touch. Yeah, I called him so many times. My son was basically just swiping, canceling all the calls. So what I want to say with that is that the younger generation are much more adaptable to technology nowadays compared to the older generation. Bringing again the human aspect of it, empathy plays a role. We have to understand, we have to accept that yes, not everybody is going to learn and adapt as easy, as easy as the rest.
Yeah, it will take time.
It will take time. Again, time is money. We don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste the money. So, let's find these old folks. Let's find something else to do with them, or let's get rid of them. Let's hire new young guys.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
It should be a mix.
It should. I think diversity is very important.
True. And how do you see to make the whole island of Aruba become inclusive into technology without leaving anyone behind? How can we approach that situation?
Again, I think what we're doing here is a great start. Again, we started Digital Natives of Aruba, the foundation, and I think there's a lot we can do. If you see that I think even GDG organizations, clubs or groups around the world organize is computer literacy for older folks. I don't remember in what country it was, where they were giving classes, computer classes. But I think these are the things that we can do. I mean,
Create more awareness.
create more awareness and give them the skills. In the Netherlands, excluding older folks is a reality at the moment. I'll give an example. Almost the whole majority of the public sector is online, right? You do your taxes online. You schrijf in, schrijf uit online. You register for school online. So majority of that is online. What was your AOV, all of that stuff is all online. So what was happening was that the older folks felt left out because they don't know, tokens, BSN, what's the DigiD.
DigiD.
DigiD, how does that work? I remember my grandma, before we had tokens and all of that, you had a number that was sent to your phone when you want to make a transfer with your bank, and it was called, I think, a tag or something.
Yes. Yeah. I remember.
And my grandma was at the beginning of that. She still had a list, and every time you get a list with a bunch of codes on it, and the bank, when you want to make a transaction, the bank asks you, okay, what's the code behind this and this number, and she has that list. It's personalized. And she would scratch. Nowadays, it just happens to be on your phone. When you want to make a transaction, they send you SMS saying that this is the code. You put in the code in the website and your transaction goes ahead. My grandma still has that list. Still has not made the switch to SMS, has not made the switch to an app. Here in the island, we have a SVB app. SVB is our pension fund. A great idea, guys. How many of these old folks are going to be able to use this app?
Not.
So these are the things that we have to ask ourselves. Like, okay, what are we going to do? How do we want to do it? And I think here's where we as a foundation can play a role into it in educating not only users, but also developers or project owners or project managers with the fact that inclusiveness is something. It's not it's too easy to be like, I'm gonna design an app and just put it out there. We have people, language barriers, same thing.
We speak 4 languages on the island, yes.
We speak 4 languages. So in what language am I going to make my app? You know, like it's the same. It's the same question in the marketing sphere. You know, what am I going to do my? You know, what am I going to write my post in what language? You know, like am I going to do papiamento or am I going to do English or you know, like or is it Dutch? Like, what am I going to do with it? So yeah, I think we as an island have great opportunities and immense great challenges, which makes it also nice.
Yeah, and it's not only on Aruba, I think, but also in the whole Caribbean. We kind of face certain similar challenges.
What the biggest thing that we in the Caribbean face is that we import technology. Technology gets imposed on us. There are very few Caribbean islands that are actually producing or creating technologies. It happens here and there, but
Not in the masses.
not in a massive scale. Meaning that we want to go talk a little bit history, social aspect. We're still being colonized digitally, meaning that technology is still being imposed on us. We'll see how that's going to end up being. You know what's going to end up like. One of the questions one of the concerns I raised about here on the island we have 500 taxi drivers. Self-driving cars are here on the island. It's a fact. We cannot stop it. We cannot, you know, they're here. They're going to come. Self-driving cars for transport are already being used. It's not, I'm not talking movie, I'm not talking Star Wars, Star Trek. This is a reality, all right? In Amsterdam, you have self-driving buses, okay? They're here. What are we going to do as an island within, bet you within 15 years, we have self-driving cars in front of the airport where tourists book their ride to their hotel from their app in the United States. What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? What are going to happen with these 500 taxi drivers?
Yeah, tough question.
You know, so again, we can't stop the influx of technology. So we have to adapt. We have to figure out how we're going to deal with this. Yes, we decolonized, but we're technologically colonized at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So again, for the islands, it'll be interesting to see if we can all unite and combine and see how we can profit from this, because we're not going to stop it. Same thing with globalization. It's reality. You're not going to stop it. Question is now, how are we as a community, as an island, how are we going to, because again, we all share the same cultures. We have almost the same challenges with multiple languages, you know, on an island. I mean,
true.
You know, so there is opportunity. There's great opportunities. We just got to tap into that.
All right. Are there any questions in the crowd or online? Oh, let me check.
Questions?
I found it very interesting what you said about digital banking. For example, in the past we didn't have any way to connect to the bank, but due to the pandemic, basically the community here on Aruba were forced to go digital. And now we're seeing the last couple of months that our hackers are getting into people's accounts. So what you said about training, it's like the bank is just putting everybody online, but without the training. Don't give up, don't give away your IDs, don't give away your keys, you know, all your tokens. So, and you know, you have people of age, many of them are even giving their PIN codes to family members because they don't know how to use an ATM machine. So
again, I think that's a very important issue that you're raising, because again, we're not alone in this. In developed countries, they're dealing with the same thing. I remember when I was in the Netherlands, continuously we're getting message, you're getting advertisement. The government is advertising for this. Don't, phishing is a reality. Don't give away your PIN code. Change your passwords to your email regularly. You have like how to make an email. Like majority people, their password is their name, year of birth.
Yeah.
Or year of birth name, or the name of their son, or the kid, so same thing in the Netherlands. You had advertisements going like how to design a password, how to do passwords. So I think here's the same thing, like, yes, we were forced digitally, and we didn't think about the consequences. It's the same thing with hackers nowadays. Like, to what extent are we really mitigating this? To what extent are we really being able to deal with it? We do have something here in the island because, la pasa, Or what you're also realizing is that we're digging back now. Because the pandemic is done, we can all live so-called normal lives. So let's go back to where we were. So you have that aspect as well, like the same thing with the working at home. How many organizations went up to working at home? But how many now are saying, minotawabo na yung oficina, kung misabi ni back no mabing trabaho, so minotawabo na yung oficina.
Oh, I will translate it. I don't see you in the office, you can come back now. That's what you meant.
So it's kind of, it's a double-edged sword in one way. The pandemic, yes, really kicked our butts and be like, listen, man, we have to start developing ourselves. And at the same time, now, we're realizing, I don't need it anymore, so let's go back to where we were. And I think that's something that we really have to watch for, because again, like I said, technology is moving. I think, the speaker before me said as well, like, in the past, you had two software developers, one for iPhones and one for Androids, and the ones for iPhones were all, I'm an iPhone developer, I have a job, I'm fine, nothing, Android developers, I'm an Android developer, so as long as the phones exist, we have a job. But now you got a new guy on the block, and he's a Flutter developer. One developer programs for both platforms. So now you got the Apple guys going like, shit, I got to start doing something now. So again, way back after my high school, I studied computer and electrical engineering. It's a 3-year program. At the first day, the first thing the teachers told us, by the time you guys graduate, everything you learned is outdated. And that's happening now. And the same thing here on the island, we're running behind the ball. We're catching up. But we can't sit still. We have to start leaping forward and making steps if we want to keep up. Because like I said, those 500 taxi drivers, we're going to be scratching our heads. What are we going to do with it? And what's going to happen? The technology is bad. Technology is taking over our jobs. Well, we haven't developed programmers. We haven't developed youth to be able to work on these cars, how to program them, how to fix them, how to deal with stuff, So I think it's we have to keep leaping forward and can't sit still.
True. I have 2 remarks or 2 points from B. Richard. Take care of your employees and they will take care of the rest. That's a very good point, because at the moment on Aruba, a lot of employers don't take care of their employees, which is a bad thing. And from Lazana Murray, great points on the digital colonization. About a decade or more ago, this was not seen as a problem, but now it is a problem, I think.
I don't like challenges. I think that's what it is. It's a challenge, because we have to face it. Usually when it's a problem, you kind of want to shy away from it, and I don't think we have to shy away from it.
We have to face it, deal with it.
We have to face it and deal with it. We in the Caribbean are very, very creative. We deal with situations that other countries don't face. You know, I mean, we grow up hearing around us various languages. You know, we're on an island. You know, we deal with other stuff. We manage a lot more than big countries do. You know, like, for instance, we have one government that has to manage a port, an airport, you know, we have borders. Bigger countries have a whole country to manage that, you know. So they have a lot more access, a lot more information, a lot more talent going on, and you see that
resources.
a lot more resources. And we are on an island, you know. We have to deal with it with the resources that we have, you know. And what does that create is that we become, how do you say that? We manage our resources much better than bigger countries. So I think that's an advantage that we have. We have an advantage that we speak more languages. I mean, we can serve 4 markets.
True.
You know, I mean,
Let's make use of it.
let's make use of it. I mean, when I studied in the States, people were in awe that I speak more than one language. Majority Americans speak one language, and it's English.
Yep.
You know, so I think we have great opportunities on these islands.
Use it to our advantage.
Correct.
Questions? Just one remark. We had the previous speaker. He mentioned you can use one code base, cost efficient. How can we replicate that for Aruba or in the Caribbean in general? Because we have a lot of challenges, low-hanging fruit challenges. You can use Flutter or Dart to solve these. How can we proceed in this?
Again, this DevFest is the first of many. I think one of the comments as well online was collaborate. Don't become an island on an island.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's he nailed it.
Exactly.
You know, we have to collaborate. You know, one of our programs is Code Club, where we're giving the opportunity for children to learn how to code for free, by the way. We're not charging them. Why? Again, our long-term thinking is that if we have these kids that have the skill to code, I don't need nothing against other countries and other citizens, but I don't have to hire somebody from Pakistan or India to build the app for me or to build my website. You know, I can have my own people knowing my culture, knowing my language, understanding what I want, understanding how we work and function here, you know, how to build an app or a website. You know, if we want to leap forward, we want to make changes, we want to be able to be susceptible to the technology being imported, we got to give our own people the skills to be able to deal with this. So that's where Code Club came in, you know, it's like, how do we prepare these kids to deal with this? How do we prepare kids to create with technology? And I think collaboration is something that's key.
Yeah. Collaboration on the island itself, but also collaboration with all the Caribbean islands in the Caribbean.
I think that's very, very important. Again, we face the same challenges. Like we know the challenges that we face are not the same challenges big countries face.
True.
And we have the same history. You know, we were all colonized one day. Everything is imposed. Our legislations, our rules, our laws, they're all imposed on us. Our laws are still written in Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Any questions online or in the room? No? Now
Go
we
to a
will,
break?
Wrap it up.
Yeah?
Break.
Break.
Thank you.
All I wanna be
Check, check. Blit. Minta que mic inang. All right, we're back. We will have a fireside slash Q&A. Winston.
Hello. I heard you're working on a no-code platform. What is it?
Yeah, funny. That's right with that. That's very good. Yeah, so I've labeled it no code, so to say. So it's a tool I built for myself with Flutter for web. In this case, still Angular dark code. And the mic. Okay. Right. Cool. So what I'm trying to do with it is, where possible, I can reuse what I've built and make it faster, so that when clients come and they fit into something that I already have, I can reuse that. But even though, and still, when they want to have something different, I can add that as well. And even though it's something that's reusable, everyone will have their own application.
So you're selling this to clients?
Yeah, yeah.
And why, what makes it special? Why would they not use a different no-code tool?
It's a thing that I can add for them specifically, so to say. So I'm targeting actually individuals to smaller companies, so not like bigger companies, but really per person, so to say, even, so that when they have something specific for themselves that they want to have different, then I can add that.
And what is it for?
The tool by itself is for me, actually. So for me to be able to quickly to produce something for my clients. Yeah.
But the clients will be able to use it themselves?
Yeah, yeah. So no. So the result of the tool, yes, that will be their own application, but the tool itself will be for myself. Yeah.
And what kind of applications does it produce?
So going back, I had a project with a designer that I didn't know at the time. Eventually, he became the person I collaborate with now. And during this project that we had, he kept hearing me, everything is possible. So at the point when I asked him, like, yo, actually, I need a new business card. Can you make one for me? He put everything is possible on it. And that's actually what I'm saying. Everything is possible. So within your range of processes that you're doing as a company, as a person, everything is possible. That's what I'm aiming for.
Okay, and did you build this from scratch?
Yeah.
Have you explored any open source alternatives that you could potentially improve?
I see where you're going. Yes, yes, and in this way, this sense, I was kind of stubborn, but more also because I wanted to own it myself in this sense. So I wanted to have something that I know I've built myself, I own myself, and I can change it the way I want it to. So this was really something I wanted to have by myself.
And how long have you been working on this?
Myself, including the first client that I had, so building the tool by itself and servicing my first client, I've been building this thing for a year now.
And how finished is it?
Quite finished, actually. I have my first clients live.
What kind of application is that?
Well, so this one was a retailer. No, actually, I should say wholesale, like retail wholesale company.
Business to business?
Well, it goes further. So it's like business to business and then to consumer. So like a franchise owner wanted to have an application that he could service web shops for his franchisees. So people who own the franchise, who exploiting the franchise, should be able to have their own web shop, but then using the product range from that franchise owner. And actually at the click of a button, they would wanted to be able to say, okay, a new city, a new franchise, exploit new web shop. That's what they wanted. So the system now allows me to, for any franchise owner, to add franchisees, I should say, and have their own web shops. So that's what I've been building the past year.
Okay. Could you describe the architecture?
Interesting. Where should I go? Where should I start?
How does the front end work?
So the front end, in the sense, is so I have my own. It's very funny because I haven't had to explain it, what I've been building so far, to anyone. So this is fun. So I've built my own Flutter for Web application where I can just enter my clients in. Based on that, I actually have Cloud Run, as I mentioned, listening to triggers, and that will see like what it should do. So I have multiple services listening to triggers, and based on their responsibility, they know what to do, and that actually fires up different triggers. So it's something that a chaining reaction, so to say.
When an application is finished with this tool, how is it hosted?
Cloud Run. So based on what you need, so like any portal that you have, so like the back office, so to say, for a client will be a Flutter for Web application, and that one is it's hosted in for every portal, for every back office is hosted as a Cloud Run application.
Can it be hosted independently of the no-code tool?
Well, so it's how would I say this? So like the no-code tool by itself is, I'm calling it a no-code tool for myself, but independently, what I'm producing are containers. So the container itself, I could just give it to someone and then let them host it somewhere else. So as soon as I've produced that container, that image, then I can just say, here's your image, and go ahead, use it wherever you want to.
What is a challenge that you're currently working on with this tool?
Selling it. No, so technically I'm actually quite happy with the architecture that I have. So whenever something comes up, I know where to place it and how to expand it and how to. So I'm happy with how that's set up. And from now on, it's basically seeing how, as I said, selling it. So what comes to mind is that people see magic as long as it's not explained, and that's what I'm having with this tool as it is now. It's somewhat hard to explain, I think, and that's why I'm not targeting the technology behind it, but more what I can deliver with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
How about switching the interviews roles? Why don't we ask Winston questions?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 14.
14.
Yes.
And you've built a website.
Multiple.
Multiple
Multiple
websites.
websites.
Can you explain? Can you tell us something about them?
One of the websites I've made is a website for the art that I made for Aruba Art Fair 2022. That's hosted at artfair.winstondegeef.com, and that's just a WordPress website.
Yeah. And what kind of art is it?
I made art with artificial intelligence.
And how does it work?
You give this artificial intelligence, you give it a prompt or a piece of text, and then it tries to generate an image which it thinks fits that text.
If you what?
Which the AI thinks fits the text that you gave it.
Yeah. What have you done? What's your aim with it? Why did you do it?
My main goal was to show people how far artificial intelligence has come.
And what was the end result?
The art,
Yeah, yeah.
it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what did people think of it?
They liked it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
What's up with the scraping website? Why don't you tell us something about that?
This scraping is related to a project called Diccionario, which is an online dictionary for the language of Papiamento. This website, currently it's hosted at diccionarioawe.web.app, and it's not really working at the moment. You can look, a few words are in there, like the word guy and tarifa, I believe, are in there, but the contribute page, it doesn't save right now, so that's not really working. But in the future, the idea is to have a dictionary where anybody can contribute a definition.
Okay.
And this, I wanted to know what the relative word frequencies were of words used in Papiamento. And I know that 24 Horas, which is a local news organization, has a lot of articles in Papiamento. So when I was in the summer vacation, I wanted to know this. So I scraped all of the articles and gathered all the text. And I can say on 24 Horas, the most commonly word used is di,
D?
which is both a possessive pronoun
Yeah,
and a verb to talk or to say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like, okay, D is just a very common word, but besides that, are there any other common words where you say like, wow, that really like struck me?
No. Well, what I really noticed, what I did find interesting is I remember in the past hearing about it in some languages like English. The most common word has some frequency, and then the second most common word is half of that, and the third most common word is a third of that. And I noticed that for the data that I scraped from this website, the most common word was D, and after that was A, but they were very similar in frequency.
Yeah. And what's after that?
I do not remember that.
Okay.
What I also noticed is there's this word called I, which is and in Papiamento, and it's always spelled with a Y. But there's a few thousand times the letter I was used instead. That was also noticeable, which is grammatically incorrect.
Yeah. What else? What else are your
Well, actually, I
plans?
wanted to know, how did you build this scraping part?
Originally, I used Python and something called requests.
Okay.
And they have the sitemap.
Yeah.
So you have like a sitemap, which is a machine-readable list of all of the articles. And I looked at that, and there's like 85,000 articles about that when I was scraping it.
Yep.
And so I just downloaded all of those links,
Okay.
and I put them in an array, and I tried to download all of the pages, web pages, but eventually I got some IP block,
Yeah.
which wasn't completely an IP block. I think it has something related to do with the headers, because when I looked at it in my browser, it just showed me the web page, and when I make it with the requests, it gave me a denied.
Yeah.
And my parents, when they were looking at it, it also gave them that it was denied.
Okay, they caught up on you.
So what I did instead is there's this thing, for some reason, when I used Tor to get around the ban,
Yeah.
and for some reason, when you're using a browser, no matter how many requests you make, they do not block you. So what I did is I just loaded all of the URLs into the Tor browser, and then I just had it request them. Like it was going like 10 requests concurrently,
Yeah.
and web server just served them all. One of the problems was I was originally downloading them through Tor itself,
Yeah.
but it would crash.
Interesting.
So what I did instead is I opened a web server, which the only thing it does is it just saves it to the local drive, and then Tor did not crash, and I could download all 85,000 articles.
Okay. Cool. You're following, you're part of Code Club, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's part of Code Club. However, he's very advanced.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. It's a challenge to keep him challenged.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, we're figuring some things out to how to keep him challenged. But yeah, again, I think him just joining our community for him is a great opportunity. I'm pretty sure that if he has questions and he can throw them in our community, that we can definitely help him and lead him in the right direction.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's why we're here. That's why we're here. So where do you want to go next to? So what do you want to do next?
For Dictionario.
Anything.
Anything.
Well, first I need to fix the website, and then I'm going to contact experts in Papiamento to see if they want to also be a part of this project.
How are you
How-
going to deal with the fact that the Papiamento of Aruba is different than the Papiamento of Curacao, and it's different in the Papiamento of Bonaire? Did you think about that already?
There is a subtle difference. I know the vocabulary is slightly different, but right now my focus is just on Aruba, and then perhaps in the future we can have diccionario.bonaire.
Yeah.
I don't know what the country code is.
Yeah. All right.
No, it's very interesting because I was working on a project as well like that. So we're going to collaborate anyway. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I was thinking from the let's say technical point of view of like languages you want to learn, something that you have interest in. I'm just curious about that.
I like math,
You like math?
so I think I'm going to go study that.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. I'm just interested.
Any questions?
Well, 808 Prime says, is AI the new UI?
Is AI the new UI?
No.
I can get where that comes from. If I'm understanding this correctly, you could actually tell a UI, hey, I need a form with these fields, this data format. Could be something. I think there is something like that
Yeah.
actually. So, but then again, for me in that sense, what I was saying is that I would still like the ability to change things. So, building on top of that would be cool. But I think I wouldn't say necessarily future, because you still need human eyes to look at these things. Still, at least that's what I believe.
And I have a question, Winston. How do you keep yourself challenged with all this new stuff? I mean, you're only 14, which is wow. I mean, how do you entertain yourself to get this knowledge to do the things you want to do with technology?
I just make things.
Yeah.
You just make them with no inspiration, or how do you get your inspiration? How do you do it?
Well, when I was a few years ago, last year and the years before that, at school I had I had Papiamento. That was one of the things they gave. And I noticed there's no online dictionary, which is something I would find very useful. We have a dictionary at home, but the spelling is wrong and there are a lot of words missing. So that's why I thought, well, this is definitely something that I think I and a lot of other people could use. So that's why I thought, well, why don't I make something like that?
Yeah.
You know about Papiamento.awe?
Yes. That's how I got the list with all the words.
Yeah.
Yes. But unfortunately, there's nothing else. Well, they have some reference materials about the
But they-
grammar of Papiamento, but they don't contain any, they don't have any definitions.
Exactly. They don't have definition. They just have words. It's
Only
just a
the
word
list.
list. Yeah, it's just a word list. Because I also use it just to check my spelling. But again, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think you even have to write, which is also odd. It does predict what you want to write, but if you really want the correct word, you have to spell the word correctly.
Yeah. That
Which
doesn't-
then again is like, okay,
doesn't
but
work.
One of the features I'm looking into for Diccionario is a more phonetic-based searching, where it doesn't matter if you use a C or a K or how you spell xiong, if you spell it with the X-I-O-N or S-I-O-N or C-I-O-N or T-I-O-N.
exactly.
That, so a phonetic search to make it easier for people to find the word that they're looking for.
How can Google Translate tap into this?
We had a talk about that with one of our members of our group. They were actually quite in some talks with a company who would provide access to that or something like that.
Google Translate how? Get Papiamento on the list of languages in Google Translate?
Yeah.
Because in the Fries,
Yeah.
they used the kids to upload words.
Yeah. So from what I understood is that there was work done, but there's still work to be done, so to say. Full details I don't remember fully.
Yeah.
It's possible, and some people started it, but apparently some people still have to finish it.
I've also looked into providing a translation on the website.
Yep.
And Google will sell you, will train these models for you using their AI magic, and
Yep.
then you can use it. But one of the large barriers is just having a lot of data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's something that we're lacking with the
Yeah.
materials that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do the AI project?
The AR.
Yeah.
Well, I'd heard about it when on YouTube, and I made an account. Like now it's open for everyone, but before that you had to like join a wait list. And eventually I got an account and tried a few things. It didn't really do what I wanted it to, and then I was listening to a podcast, and then they said, well, it's pretty advanced. So I looked into it again and made some art.
Yeah.
And then I heard about this Aruba Art Fair, and I thought, well, I would really like. And I know a lot of people haven't heard of it yet, so I thought, well, I would like to inform the people and show them how far this AI has come.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you retry it recently to create new art with it?
Well, the most recent art I've made is, well, not the most recent, but the art that's on the website, artfair.windstonethecliff.com, that's pretty recent. The art fair was a few weeks ago,
Okay.
maybe a month, but that.
Okay.
So that's quite recent.
Okay. Check.
Do you have questions? Please think of one. Just one question.
No, she's okay.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you.
It's really enlightening, and you're amazing.
Thank you.
Keep on doing it.
Thank you.
Yes. Cool.
Right, we'll wrap it up. If you don't have any questions,
We're good.
Right. Again, thank you guys for the questions and the talk, enlightening, and keep on doing what you're doing. It's amazing. And we will wrap up this GDG DevFest 2022 for Aruba. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a nice weekend.